Heads up. Game time.
Here we go.
Lock and load. Yeah, where's the clock? All right, so welcome to another edition of Lock and Load. It's been an interesting week for everybody. Government's back open, for better or for worse. They're building a wall behind my condo for the Safeway, but as far as the one on the border, not happening yet. Been reading a couple.
They were shut down.
What's that?
The government was shut down.
Yeah, there was a rumor about that.
I didn't know.
Well, it was interesting because I was watching the Die Hard 2, the one at the airport, where they were the military bad guys try and save rescue a drug cartel boss who's being flown in, and they take over an airport and crash some planes into the ground, so they can get the cooperation of the people in the control tower to get this drug cartel and of course at the same time the TSA agents in the real world are like calling in sick, and then the air traffic controllers started calling in sick, and that's all we need is planes bumping into each other up there and crashing into the ground, not on TV and in real life. So that wouldn't have been good. So that's, I think, when the air traffic controllers, I mean, if anybody is old enough to remember when Reagan, when the air traffic controllers went on strike, and Reagan just fired all the air traffic controllers and hired new ones. And because the union went on strike, and he said, okay, fuck the union, you're all fired. I'm hiring new people, and I'm the president, so you can all just get lost. This is a national emergency. So, all the old air, that's basically, so when the aircraft, they started having problems with air traffic control people, I think that's what ended the government shutdown in reality. But I've been reading these two books. CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception, which is basically a declassified manual that the CIA uses, basically magic tricks applied to intelligence operations, and just as a basic reference, the Advanced Bushcraft by Dave Canterbury. I know most of the stuff in here, but it's good to have a reference like that. I was weird. I'm going to read this once. I read it in the pre-chat, but as far as magic goes, to describe what they're doing, it's basically sleight of hand deception tricks. And here it is. It was a demonstration of Kellar the magician's famous boast that once he had an audience under his spell, he could march an elephant across the stage and no one would notice. And so basically they have a lot of examples of sneaking agents out of airports in Tehran in the middle of the hostage crisis, like 6, and a few other, but it's basically like how to poison people. I mean, not how to make poison, but how sleight of hand, how to get people to look at something else other than what you're trying to do and accomplish your mission. And so it was just, I found it an interesting read. I'm still getting through it. So I guess people have been dealing with various things. There's been a lot of gun control legislation put forward in Hawaii, and there's been a SCOTUS case that's been approved for the Supreme Court's going to hear from New York versus see if I can put up that case real quick. Oh, we had a shark sighting, had a beach closed here in Hawaii. That one's up, so I'll just throw that screen share up real quick. There's Kua Bay, and there's a shark sighted. Kayaker bumped into a tiger shark, and then they saw a shark in Kua Bay here, and they closed the beach. Anyway, let me see if I can find the. Oh, here it is. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus the City of New York issue whether New York City's ban on transporting a licensed, locked, and unloaded handgun to a home or shooting range outside city limits is consistent with the Second Amendment, the Commerce Clause, and the constitutional right to travel. So they are going to hear that case, and they have not been hearing any Second Amendment cases, at least now that we have a 5-4 conservative majority. We might get somewhere. It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back with gun control. And it's like, Trump has the bump stock ban, which is just dumb. But since we have 5 conservative justices on the Supreme Court, that's like the good thing that Trump did. And plus now we're starting to get red flag laws proposed by Rubio and some other Republicans. And it's just like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but at least we'll see what the Supreme Court can do, if anything. Be nice if and when Ruth Bader Ginsburg retires. I'll just throw up these Hawaii proposed laws. I talked about them last week, one of them, because I got a reply from the guy too. He replied to all the people that didn't like his bill. Here it is. Well, House Bill 25 was introduced, which would ban the possession of firearms and ammunition in hotel rooms. So I'm going to hit present to everyone on this one so you can see it. Anyway, let's see. The most egregious being a ban on commonly owned semi-automatic firearms discriminating against young adults under the age of 21 and prohibiting them from bringing firearms into the state. So if you're under 21, if you're 18, you're old enough to join like the Marines, but apparently you can't bring a gun into the state.
You can join the military and they issue you weapons at age 18, yet you can't have a gun under 21. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, we trust the kids to go kill people overseas, but we don't trust them to act responsibly. We trust them to follow orders overseas with firearms and mortars
right,
and rocket launchers, but javelin missiles. But we won't trust them with like a handgun here. It makes no sense. Please contact committee members. And so, yeah, I hit the take action button. I'll post a link after the show in the video description to this Hawaii Free Press. So you go to hawaiifreepress.com. Let's see. Senate Bill 1334 would expand the current ban on assault pistols to include commonly owned rifles and shotguns that can accept detachable magazines. It would also ban standard capacity magazines holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition for any firearm. So currently, the state of Hawaii bans 10-round magazines just for pistol, not rifles. You could have like a beta mag. So if this passes, and this is the thing I talked about last week. I had watched Iraq Veteran 888, and they said that New Jersey has had a law banning any magazine over 10 rounds, and it was a confiscatory ban. Everybody had to turn in their magazines, and apparently not one person in the state has so far. So a lot of good that's going to do. But they're trying to pass a law for that anyway. So I imagine as that law gets closer to passing, everybody that has a magazine with like a 40-round mag or something like that ought to be able to sell it for a lot of money until it's illegal. And then, of course, everybody will have a boating accident and they all fall off a boat on the same day at the same time. It would also ban standard capacity mags holding 10 rounds of ammunition for any firearm. blah blah blah. It's not been assigned to committee. Let's see. Bill 600 would raise the minimum age to transport a firearm into the state to 21. Bill 720 would set one size fits all requirement for gun owners to report lost or stolen firearms within 24 hours, further victimizing gun owners who have suffered a loss or theft. So if you're like out of town or out of state, somebody breaks into your house and you don't get back for like a week, then you've committed a crime by not reporting it because you didn't, within 24 hours, you didn't report it to the police. You weren't even there. Somebody robbed you, and so you're guilty of a crime.
It's another one that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like, they take, it's like give us gun. It's like they're ordering a pizza. Give us gun control with everything on it, and so that's what all this shit is: a gun control pizza with everything on it. So there's one button where you could send a letter and oppose everything. If you live in Hawaii, it's the take action button. It's the NRA, ILA set that up, and I'm not really happy with the NRA, but this was definitely a useful feature. So I'm going to see if I can just post this link in the external or not, in case anybody's out there. Let's see. Copy.
It sounds like they're just trying to criminalize gun owners in any way possible that they can find.
Yeah. Owning a gun, if you own a gun, you're crazy and a criminal. And so you need to be arrested. And what I basically said, let's see if I could find what I said to Representative Brower. So he sent out like to everybody that didn't like his bill and emailed him. He sent out a response, and so what I said is, "Dear sir, you are promoting firearm confiscation, and in the case you cite, the gun confiscation was triggered by a quote disturbing social media post unquote." So really, a disturbing media post on social media. Some people are disturbed and triggered by innocuous posts like "God bless Donald Trump." So if I go on like West Hawaii Today and type "God bless Donald Trump," I know there are people out there who will be triggered by that. So they can call up and the police and try and swat me. And so there'll be like a red flag gun confiscation squad team that will go in, guns up and weapons free, because I typed "God bless Donald Trump" on like the local newspaper thing, right? And there's people here that hate Trump. So, I mean, you know how the politics are in this country. So, and that happened in Maryland, where his sister was upset with him, so she called in a red flag law, and they went in and at 5 a.m. and shot him dead. So, basically, I told him that your bill will result in many guns up, SWAT team red flag raids, and innocent people will be swatted and killed. And your bill will be responsible for those deaths. So if you want to save lives, withdraw your bill. And gun control legislation has never worked in the history of mankind. So I sent him a response. I don't think he reads his responses. He just like put out a standard email to everybody that didn't like his bill, saying that he exempted law officers and all the, basically he did everything to divide everyone. It looks like they just want this to apply to Honolulu, because he said he's going to restrict to counties with a population greater than 500,000 people. They're adding amendments to make it. They're just trying to get this thing passed, and eventually it'll turn into we can seize your guns anytime we want for any reason.
Yeah, it sounds like he's just kind of, he's trying to sweeten the deal, which is not ever going to happen. You can't sweeten a deal like that. But it sounds like he's trying to say, "Oh, well, we're only going to make it for this area," and then once it catches on, and once they successfully pass it there, then they're gonna, move it on. You know what, that worked. So let's go ahead and enforce it statewide, and then you know, before you know it, they're going to be trying to enforce it nationwide.
Okay.
Just it's they're talking a lot of crap and not and they have nothing to prove. They have no legitimate statistics to prove with all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to load this. I'm gonna have to put the link on later. It's not letting me put links in the external chat. So sorry about that, guys. Anyhow, let's see if I get back to where I was. Squibb is still at work and probably making a lot of noise in the shop there. Let's see what else we got. So you were saying there was. Well, I don't know if we should talk about the thing in Texas because we really don't know anything about it yet, other than some police officers got shot in a
Yeah,
drug raid.
it's. I was thinking about that earlier. If that would have been something that I thought, what, there's probably not a lot of detail on it right now, but I guess we could kind of alert. I guess kind of give you guys a breaking news. Um, uh, Several police officers, and I only say several because one media outlet is saying five, another one is saying four. They can't get
Yeah.
their numbers right, but
Well, that's normal.
so
Here, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. I have to have my new
this
sound.
just in from Houston, Texas. Five police officers were shot today while enforcing a drug search warrant in a Houston home. The last count was five police officers were shot. Three of those officers were listed as critical. Two of those officers were in stable conditions. Um, and again, this is I haven't checked the news in about an hour, but the last I heard, there was one suspect dead, and then another news channel was saying two suspects dead. So we really don't know the details of it at the time. It probably later tonight or tomorrow, whenever they give a press briefing uh, to update the situation, they'll probably give us some more accurate numbers. But but yeah, I guess those guys that were in there making the heroin, and specifically uh, they specifically said black tar heroin. So I don't
Well, they
know if
don't
that
they
was
don't
the
make heroin in the crack. They distribute it. I mean, but they don't make it, and
right.
they make that in Mexico.
But they said that I guess when these guys decided to start dealing drugs, they missed the memo where you know possessing a firearm while committing a felony was another felony, and it was illegal to shoot cops. So I guess instead of going in, SWAT style, they should have said, "Hey, this is the police. You're doing something illegal, so therefore you can't have a gun." And if they would have said that, then those people that were dealing with drugs and committing illegal acts would have said, "Oh, you're right. That we got to listen to the law and handed over their guns."
No, I think
And then
it's more like why not shoot the police because all they're going to do is arrest you, and if they lose their drugs, the drug cartel people will come in and kill them for losing their
yeah,
drugs. So
either way, it was a lose-lose situation. It just unfortunately it lost in it was a losing battle in a um, I don't want to say a good way or a bad way because either way is a bad way. But the good people that were trying to do their jobs and protect us from that stuff Unfortunately, they were injured in the line of duty, and it's not a good thing either way.
There's,
But
yeah, the drug cartel people. You could say it's a criminal organization, but it's like a cult of death.
right,
Those there's the cartel, the Sinaloa cartel. They're all
many
pretty
ways
much
in, one
evil.
way out.
Yeah,
Even
and if those people in that house that were working for the cartel knew that if they lost those drugs, they would be killed.
and again, um, just to kind of give these guys our listeners a little bit of a background. We don't know anything about the suspects. We're just assuming at this time, so it very well could not be a cartel thing. It could be a completely private thing, but it's either way.
Well, most
We
people,
can only assume because
regular
that's the
citizens
most likely.
citizens don't have any motivation to shoot police. I mean, all the police will do is arrest you and take you to jail. If you
Right.
just surrender peacefully, they aren't going to like shoot you dead. The cartels, but if you're afraid of the cartel that will shoot you dead, then I mean, unless you've got a beef against that, there's just no reason for regular people to. Uh, uh, I mean, we're not in a state of revolution at this point. You may have issues with the government, but it's it's. I just assume that these people work for the cartel because those are the only people that would have a motivation to just
Right.
open fire on cops.
And and that's perfectly fair to I mean, how many people around that you hear? How many heroin labs do you hear get busted in the U.S.? If any, not many these days. So that's a safe assumption to make. But
You know what
just to be
I
clear, it's really early in the stages, and we're not getting any straightforward information from anyone, especially not the media, which is not surprising there.
We haven't had any straight information from the media for like since I can't remember when. Um, but heard something interesting that what they want one interesting thing they wanted to do to get funding for the wall was the Homeland Security, the Border Patrol. They seize lots of drug money, and they could just take the money that they seize and they want to pass a bill so let them use that to build the wall because it's they don't just the cartel doesn't just try and sneak drugs across the border north. They try and sneak money across dollars across the border south. So a lot of that gets seized by Border Patrol. Just bundles and bundles of money hidden in
Right.
various vehicles, and they could use that to build the freaking wall. And then it was the cartels would pay for it. And I don't think anybody has a problem with taking money from the cartels, except the cartels.
Yeah.
They have a big problem with that.
Well,
Uh,
and here's the thing, they're not going to have a problem with taking money from the cartels until the cartels start showing up here and start doing work here. Then they're going to be like, oh, there were 16 people that was pretty much dismembered and beheaded in Arizona. Oh crap, we got put that wall up. Now everybody wants to jump in on the wall's bandwagon,
I don't think so
but by
because
then it's too
unless
late.
you live in Arizona, it's not going to matter to somebody in Congress who represents somebody in San Francisco. I mean, and you know who I'm referring to,
Right.
but
Well, what I mean by that is, I mean, once it starts happening, once it starts hitting the news here, then you think it's not going to just stop in Arizona. I mean, they're going to start proving people, by hitting, every big city in the U.S., regardless of how close they are to the border. So it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be a domino effect.
I don't know. All I know is about the drug business is that after they get the drugs across the border, the farther they get it away from Arizona, the farther north it goes, the more the drugs are worth. Uh, uh, so to the people that are selling them. But you know,
Right, I agree.
all I know is what I see on on the reality shows about the drug business on National Geographic or Smithsonian. Anyway, so we were talking about the that new energy that I saw that City Prepper and Canadian Prepper were talking about version 2 of that Kodiak Energy, a solar powered battery control system, and it only weighs 25 pounds. It looks awesome. It's like $1,200 if you buy it on pre-sale before the delivery date. And I'm still in the don't spend any money on preps mode other than minor things. So I'm not ready to throw $1,200 at a new energy system, but it looks like it's worth it to me. And it's one of the things I'd like to buy this year. I don't think I'm going to have the funds together in time to get the discount, so I'll probably have to wait till it's $1,600 or something later in the year, and I have money for it. But I'm still in the penny saved and it's a penny earned mode right now, and I'm just not spending lots of money. I don't want to go into debt for my preps. I don't know when the shit is going to hit the fan this year. I'm pretty sure it is at some point, but in between the debt bomb and insolvent banks and all that stuff. But who knows when it's going to happen? I'm not going into debt for preps right now. I'm just trying to keep a relatively even keel on my preps. But it was interesting to see that out there. And I know that the people up there in Michigan have been dealing with cold weather lately, and that's not something I have to deal with. We had wind today. A lot of wind in Hawaii blew over a 9-pole tarp, blocked the driveway, street access to the condo where I live. I was coming back from shopping and couldn't drive in because there was this big 9-pole tarp frame and everything just got blown into the street, the road that goes up from the street. So the thing is, I don't have like my driving, my toe straps. I don't keep them in the car because I usually keep those in my range bag because I might need them on the road up to the range where it goes shooting. The hunting area is pretty bad, and it's possible toe straps might be needed up there. So I don't want to keep my whole range bag in my car for car preps because it'd just be too enticing to thieves to just smash the window and grab everything in my range bag. But I think I need to put together a smaller everyday kit for my Blazer, just car kit of stuff that might make sense, but not too much stuff that it would be like a huge bag of stuff that would be enticing to thieves, because I already keep some stuff in there. But it would have been nice to have a tow cable. I could just tow that freaking thing out of there, because I was ready to just go Mad Max and just rev up my car and just drive through the fucking thing. And I probably might have smashed up my car doing it, but I would have definitely smashed over there that little parking tarp thing. I don't know. The winds are really strong. I don't know if there should have been some way they should have tied it down better or something. But I guess if the wind is strong enough, it doesn't matter. It's just gonna pick up the tarp, and there's nothing you could really do. But I was just triggered when I saw that in my last. I had all my frozen groceries, and I just wanted to gun my engine and drive right through it. And
of all the times, that would be the one time that it happens.
And anyway, so there were 3 people trying to move it they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and but they managed to lift it up so I could drive past it. They lifted it up enough so I could get my car by it, but they couldn't figure out how to move it because there was 9 poles and only 3 people basically. So I heard eventually some more people came out of the house that it had blown out from and helped move it back onto their own property. No, it wasn't blocking the street, but I was ready to just. If I had a tow cable, I would have just dragged it out into the main highway and just left it there for the county to deal with. And, I mean, I just wanted to get my groceries. I had frozen groceries that I paid for. I want to get them into the freezer. They want them to go bad. And anyway, another day in life. But in Michigan, it was I turned on the internet to check the weather because I was mailing some coffee to Squib, and I saw it said it was 17 degrees, but it feels like 4 degrees, which was like a 10-degree increase from the day before or something. And Squib said it snowed about 8 inches there. I think I still have him muted because he's at work. If he gets out of work or out of at least the machine shop floor, which gets to be kind of noisy, he'll start talking again.
Yeah.
But so I think that pretty much covers the stuff that I've been working on. Just doing some reading and went through the bushcraft book. I found it to be a good reference. I mean, I know most of the stuff in there, but there's some it covered some stuff that I don't. It just filled in some of the blanks that were there holes in my bushcraft knowledge. It filled them in, and because I usually don't hang out in the woods. I'm more of a city dweller, and there's better bushcraft people than me. So it's nice to just have a reference book for that.
There was something I was going to mention earlier before we went live. When you showed me those books, that's something a lot of people these days aren't really. And I can tell you right now, I'm guilty of it. Nobody has hard copies of anything like that.
I so love
So
the
that
books.
if the grid goes down, if some we lose our electronics somehow from, let's say, an EMP, then we're not going to be able to just Google, hey, how am I gonna make this or make that, and
How many
we
people?
might have.
How many families have encyclopedias nowadays?
What's that?
Yeah.
It's a perfect example. How many people how many people even know what that is, um, but yeah, it's that's a perfect example. uh, we try to learn everything we can from YouTube and online, and very, very rarely. I mean, I don't even have a printer.
My printer's
I could
busted.
probably,
Most people try and just learn from Twitter.
yeah, Twitter or Facebook or what's that other, Pinterest. Everybody likes to pin things, but and you're right, that's a very wise prep to have those 2 books on in hardback, in hard copy, because if the grid goes down, then how are we supposed to Google things and look things up when there's no electricity?
It was really interesting when I was about, I don't know, 6 months ago. I was by the pool, and one of the parents that lived here had his daughter with him, and he asked his daughter to look at the clock, and if she could see, she had a better angle on the clock on the wall, and asked if she could tell him what time it was. And she said she didn't know how to read that clock. It wasn't like on a cell phone. It wasn't just numbers. It had Roman numerals and hands, and she didn't know how to read it.
I think something as simple as Roman numerals. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you brought up a good point. Something as simple as Roman numerals, which you and I can obviously read, would be great as coded messaging. And it goes to show how how dependent this generation is on electronics.
Well, I mean, you say we can read Roman numerals. I mean, I had to remember we're on Super Bowl 30 something now because the L is 30. I mean, did you know that before
Yeah,
Super Bowl
yeah.
30?
I think there's L, M, and D. I, X, L, M, and D. I believe.
I mean, I got to tell you, I forgot that. The only way I know that stuff is by figuring out what Super Bowl it is and looking. I mean, I think what happened is we replaced Roman numerals with Arabic decimal system because it made it easier for bankers to charge interest, calculate interest that way. And that's a whole nother issue that we won't get into. But
Right.
It was just, it was that if your children don't know how to read a clock with Roman numerals in two hands, they only know how to read it if it's on the cell phone or something, or a clock with numbers, or the VCR or something, or they don't have VCRs, the cable box. That's a problem.
Another thing is, well, I mean, it's more common nowadays because just about everybody, everybody in medical emergency services and military, of course, use military time, and um, I go by military time on I have military time set on my cell phone, so.
So I think it's 1740 in Hawaii right now. I don't know. Maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah, it's 2140 here. So
I don't use military time myself, but
what did I miss?
I was we were talking about military time.
Oh, the 24-hour clock?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what, the bushcraft book had something. I started reading it. I have to go read it again. It basically was saying that, okay, well, you can use a stick in the ground to tell what time it is because the sun arches through the sky, right? When it rises in the east and sets in the west, it's like rises in the southeast, sets in the southwest, and it arches. And so at two times during the day, the sun is at exactly the same altitude. So you have to figure out which way the shadow is pointing at when the sun is at the same altitude and by the length of the shadow. And so there's a bushcraft way to tell what time it is, but I'm trying to remember it. I was reading it in Canterbury's book. So that's a great thing to have knowledge for. As far as it does, as far as the military time, does that mean anything? That's just how military people talk, I guess. I mean,
are you reading the comments out on the YouTube side?
No. You go ahead.
Oh. Okay.
Is it out there?
Hi, Vanessa. How are you? Use your calculus to figure out 2 points. She's a math teacher. She would know. She also knows 24-hour time because she's a veteran. So, it's kind of like when you're driving down the main drive on base and you see that the bowling alley closes at 2300 hours. That's 11 o'clock for you civilians.
It's in fire. Anytime you're working with an emergency services dispatcher, everything's in military time. So I keep all my watches and my cell phones and all my electronics on military time.
Okay, now I am reading externals. It is still so freaking windy here. I don't have solar panels yet. It's on my list of things to do.
Same here.
Yeah, well, I need to reread the part about in Canada because there's got to be, without performing calculus, I tried to take calculus at UCLA, and I just dropped it. It was beyond me. But basically, because the sun arcs in the sky, there's 2 points during 2 different times during the day when the shadow will be the exact same length if you put up 2 sticks. And I need to go back and completely understand what Canterbury wrote down, but there is a way to tell exactly what time it is with 2 sticks in the ground.
I don't know about the 2 sticks, but I know you can predict how long winter's going to last if you ask a rodent.
A groundhog. Well, maybe you could predict if Brexit is going to pass on this next vote by asking a groundhog too. But so you guys got 8 inches of snow.
I took a tape measure out there and checked it in 2 different places, and it read 6.5 inches. So yeah, I'd say it probably looked like it was 8, but I'm going to call it 6.5. I was away from my
dry.
What?
Wet snow or dry?
Wet. It started out dry, but it's 28 degrees, so the snow is all wet. So the salt they put down seems to be working pretty good on the road. So I had pulled my earbuds out because the third shift guy needed some marital advice, and of course I had plenty of good for him.
Oh my God! I can tell you, give you all kinds of marital advice because I've been married 3 times.
That's right. He's not married. He's currently between women, but he's got this thing for this one, but he just can't have her, and it's like, dude, move on.
Is this the incarceration guy?
Yes, this is the incarceration. I thought he was not going to show up tonight because of the weather, because he comes in, everybody else comes in a half an hour early. He comes in an hour early, and when he was 35 minutes late, I was getting a little bit worried, but he eventually showed up, and I was thinking, did he go back to jail? Did he decide not to come into work, or was he stuck in the snow?
He probably likes it when it snows because he can use the ice to like cool down the smoke in his bomb.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is when I went out to look for him the second time, the parking lot reeked of weed, and I'm like, he's got to be here. Yeah. So.
But you follow your nose. Follow your nose.
It's like this. I don't care if the third shift guy doesn't show up. I just want heads up. I mean, I'd rather go home. I'd rather do my 8 and go home. But if it doesn't happen, so be it. I can stay another 4, or I can even do a double if they absolutely have to have me do it. I'm going to be dead dog ass tired. But, the responsible thing is to call and say, I'm not coming into work because no.
Well, my marital advice to the guy who's going to be incarcerated, it looks like, is like, just try and avoid Bubba because you're going to wind up being his wife.
I think he's all done with the jail thing, but it's just like, I have to, anytime he shows up late from now on, I've got to wonder, did they hook him up or, that, or is he having another issue with this girl that he's chasing, and next thing you know, he's gotten himself into a brawl or something like that, and it's hard to say, but, live and learn, I guess.
Well, you got to I can understand how you get just stuck on a girl, but, yeah,
I told him, I said, look, when I was younger, if somebody said, dude, just move on, I wouldn't have done it. Now I would, whatever. But I'm a lot older and, been run through the ringer one time too many. But he's younger, so he's not ready to move on. It's fine. It's fine. We've all been there.
So how is basically how are you coping with the polar vortex? I mean, is it just normal for you that kind of weather? I mean, you're used to it.
Yeah. In January is when we get the bitter cold, and we usually come out of it in February, but it still snows all the way to May. But January and February seem to be the coldest months. We get snow as early as October, and we get it as late as the end of May, but usually by Memorial Day, it starts getting warm again. Past couple summers, Memorial Day hasn't been 90 degrees. It's been 68 or 70, which is weird because it's it's cold and rainy and cold and rainy and cold and rainy, and then one day they have a parade and it's 90 degrees and hot and humid. It's like, what happened? But we haven't had that in the past couple summers. I layer up. I've got my Ushanka, and I put the ear flaps down on the side tonight, and those really do work. Shoveling snow, even though it's freezing cold outside while you're doing it, shoveling snow really gets your cardio going. So I've shoveled snow in just a t-shirt before because, I mean, obviously pants, I wasn't Porky Piggin or anything, but just because you get so hot from lifting the snow. And as far as anything else, I got the four-wheel drive working on my truck again, so I'm good to go.
Right. I think, isn't like shoveling snow dangerous for people with cardio conditions because your extremities are at a different temperature than the core of your body and stuff like that?
Even my hands and toes get warm when I'm shoveling snow. So I don't know about somebody with circulation issues or. I mean, I'm an old dude, but I'm also not 76. So I mean. Yeah, well, I think if your like ankles and hands are getting warm, that means you're getting a lot more blood to them. Right. And so you can get your ankles and hands could get all swollen up, and that can be a problem. If you have water retention, your heart has to work harder. Something about it makes your heart. What I think is an older person who is not taking care of their health and has blockage of arteries or other things like that starts getting their heart working harder, and the blood's trying to pump. And maybe that's what I mean. I'm not a doctor, but I'm guessing. I mean, I've seen some old people out there throwing snow like it's nobody's business. And there's other people that they get around with a walker and they try to go out there and push snow with, and it's like, what are you doing? You got plenty of money, pay somebody. So I don't know, but the reason they had all that money is because they did all the work themselves for their whole life, and so they used to. No. So okay, this is the thing. I hear all these people talk about old people are so poor. Shit, come to Southeast Michigan. Old people got all the money around here. They're some of the wealthiest. They got money. They got money like they don't know what to do with it around here. Now, that could be because most of them are retired from the auto industry. They got a pension, a fat pension. They don't do that no more. If you were to go work at the auto plant today and work 30 years and destroy your health, they'd say at the end of the 30 years, they'd pat you on the back and send you on your way. Then it would not give you a pension and health care and all that stuff for life. So that's why probably most of the old people here have got lots of money. But still, hey, whatever. The thing is, though, if you're retired and you're sitting at home, where do you got to go other than the doctor? So why do you got to dig out your driveway? Move to Florida. I don't know. Well, I think you think part of the problem is the kids aren't motivated to go door to door to ask for work. You don't go door to door and ask for work. No, because you will get abducted. You will have Herbert the pervert pull you into the house, and they'll never see you again. Well, kids don't go around looking to mow lawns or dig out. No. Well, okay. So I mean, that's what I did when I was a kid. I mowed lawns. I did too. Okay, but I'm the last generation to do that. Nowadays, nobody wants their kids doing that because they're afraid their kid's going to get abducted. And also, you know, you can pay some lazy teenage kid who might or might not show up $20 to mow your lawn, or for a little bit more, you can have a landscaping company with a bunch of illegals show up and do it, and they'll be on time. So, I mean, all I'm saying is, if you can't deal with the snow, get the hell out of the state. I don't like this snow. I want to get out of here, and I will one day. The snow is what's going to drive me out of here, but it's not because I'm not unhealthy and can't shovel snow. I realize when you get really old and really feeble, because it's going to happen to me too one day. Okay, doing stuff like that is not going to be an easy thing. It may not even be possible. My arthritis might keep me from shoveling snow. Who the hell knows? But hopefully by then I'm living in Arizona and it's not an issue. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people around here have snow blowers. Those only work on, it's got to snow a certain way to really make those effective. So if you're going out there and you're going to go shovel snow and your heart starts to beat harder and you go, screw it, I'm going to stay out for another hour, then yeah, you're probably going to kill yourself.
I think the thing is the standard American diet and the cholesterol is what gets to people. It's not like
or they didn't shovel snow when they were younger, and then when I got older, they don't want to pay nobody. It's kind of like the roles are reversed. So they're going to go out there, and when they were younger, when they paid somebody to do all their work, they weren't getting the exercise from doing that work, and their body fell apart.
Well, in my experience, let's see, both of my grandfathers died from cardiac conditions. Both my father had a triple bypass. It's genetic. I mean, the way your body deals with lipids is genetic.
It is. Some things are genetic. Some things, and you can't help it. Some people are born with something, or they come down with something, and it's just genetic. Some people have a genetic predisposition.
There's a reason that heart bypass surgery is more common than having your tonsils out.
But there are also people who let their health go downhill. There are also people that drink and smoke and eat garbage,
or
work themselves like that. That could be. I could end up dying at one of these jobs where I work too much, or get in an industrial accident or something like that too. But you could either destroy your body from working a gazillion hours to take care of your family, or you could party yourself into oblivion, or you could just sit on the couch feeling bad for yourself. And I mean, there's all kinds of ways. So when it isn't a genetic condition, it isn't some sort of accident or something somebody did to you that's caused you to have condition, and it's self-induced, I really have a lot of trouble having sympathy for somebody that did that to themselves. I get kind of the right balance of exercise and living like shit to kind of keep me right in the healthy zone for now. So that's why I can eat anything I want and it doesn't faze me. People are like, how can you eat that? It's like, easy. I burn all the calories off at work. You sit at a desk all day. So you eat 10 candy bars a day at a desk. I eat 1 candy bar a month, and I work at a factory. You tell me. I really have trouble.
Burning calories doesn't change how your body deals with lipids, but anyway.
No, yeah, actually it does. It does. You can actually, when you exercise, you create enzymes that will actually clean out your arteries.
Somebody made that. So that's a myth. That sounds like a myth. That's not real.
All I'm saying is, well, it depends on what you call exercise. If you call curling dumbbells while you're watching TV exercise, it's better than nothing. But I mean, exercise. Your body can deal with cholesterol. Your body can do a lot of things. It's just when you exercise to the point where you break your body, it's like, well, you didn't do yourself any favors.
No pain, no gain. I mean, you have to break. You want muscle? That's how you get it. It's by breaking down your body. But anyway.
Oh yeah. But I'm talking about where you actually, okay, rock climbing is exercise, but it's exercise that can kill you.
I mean, lift, eat, sleep, repeat. I mean, that's how it works. But
yeah. But short of somebody having an accident or having somebody take their choices in life away from them and cause them an injury, or somebody having a genetic issue, if somebody lives like crap and they're not thinking about the future, it's no different than not putting some money aside for the future, right? Or not having a retirement plan, or not having something, right?
This has been the medical hour. This is Squid's take on medical.
Well,
medical in America.
Just saying.
All right, so
I don't want a doctor telling me when I'm older, you can't have this because you had way too much when you were younger. So,
they pretty much crossed off ice cream, bacon, and egg yolks, and I can live without ice cream, bacon, and egg yolks. To be honest with you, I mean, I
cannot, and I refuse to live without bacon.
Well. It's easier for me because I just think of the incision pain, and then it's easier to walk right by the bacon when I'm shopping, and I just there's certain things I just skip nowadays. Bacon's one of them. I mean, I went to Denny's that one day about a few months back, and it'll probably be another 3 years before I go back to Denny's and have like a Grand Slam slugger with bacon and egg yolks, easy over eggs, and the buttermilk pancakes. It was great, but it's gonna be like oatmeal or healthy kind of breakfasts for the next 3 years, and then maybe in 3 years I'll have another Denny's kind of breakfast. But anyway, as far as my prepping goes, I haven't been buying ammo or anything. I've just been spending all my ammo money on Mountain House freeze-dried food. So my food pantry is pretty well stocked. If there's any shipping disruptions or grid down stuff, and that was like my main thing that I've been working on, really, just for preps, is just trying to get my pantry food preps up to like somewhere near 6 months. I don't know. I might be there. Probably still a month short of that, depending on how much I could stretch out what I've got, or how much rice I feel like I want to eat, or how much ramen and rice, I guess. But that was like, so I haven't been doing anything glamorous. No new gadgets, no new guns. I mean, like one ammo run all year so far, and it wasn't that much ammo. So, but I've already got a ton of ammo, and that's one of the things about that gun control case that I found disturbing in the hotel room when they made a big deal that he had 800 rounds of ammunition. I was like, that's less than a case. If I just go to the gun shop and buy one case of ammunition, that's enough of a reason to like to constitute to trigger a red flag, right? And plus, yeah, the social media post, and he had like he had 18 knives. I got to tell you, I have way more than 18 knives. and he had one AR, one shotgun, and I think one pistol, and like 15 loaded magazines. It's like, okay, some people keep all their magazines loaded. I can understand that. But he hadn't done anything wrong.
There was some dude in a hotel with all this stuff, and he got caught. How?
Social media post. Somebody complained about a social media post.
And this was in Hawaii?
Yeah.
And they kicked down the door to the hotel room and found him with all this stuff?
No, he wasn't there. He was some other part of the hotel. The police, did kick down the hotel room door and found all that stuff. And that was the article that I read about. That was the last week. They had passed that Representative Bauer proposed that bill to ban those people bringing any firearms into a hotel room. And I wrote it. Remember, I wrote him. When
you rent a hotel room, it's an extension of your home. So.
Yes, well, they're passing a law that says you're not allowed to bring that stuff into a hotel room.
Huh.
So.
Well, I would wonder what he's got. They were rifle mags, air mags.
Let's see. Here's the news story. It says, man found with multiple weapons and ammunition in a Waikiki hotel room may not get arrested. They just confiscated all his guns, is what happened. Here's the text of the story. I'm just reading. The man found in a Waikiki hotel room with multiple weapons and ammunition remains in the hospital undergoing an evaluation. Okay, apparently he had some psychiatric medication with him. So is that like, they don't say what it is. Was that like a sleeping pill? I mean, who knows? Psychiatric medication could mean anything. They don't say in the story, but it says the FBI asked Honolulu Police Department to check on a Honolulu resident after a Facebook private message exchange prompted a friend to contact federal investigators. Some friend. Okay. Sources say that the friend told the FBI the man said he was a federal agent on a mission to take out terrorists. On Thursday, the police tracked down the 33-year-old man at the Equus Hotel in Waikiki. Never heard of that place. Upon entering his room, so they got a warrant and entered on that. Police discovered multiple guns, knives, and nearly 800 rounds of ammunition and multiple bottles of medication. The firearms were legally registered. The man had not been arrested. According to the U of H at Manoa, law professor Ken Lawson, it could stay that way. What the law is saying is that he hasn't taken a substantial step to commit a crime yet. So he's in lawful possession of his weapons in a lawful place. It isn't enough to make the arrest. So the question comes back to, well, what do you have to wait for? To point a gun at somebody, almost pull the trigger, and then arrest him? That's the question. So Lawson referenced last year's mass shooting where the Vegas gunman Stephen Paddock shot and killed 58 people, blah, 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 Mandalay Bay. Quote, we see what happened in Las Vegas. Somebody loads up automatic weapons and points it out the window. I don't think they were automatic weapons, but these apparently weren't automatic weapons because you can't register automatic weapons in this state because you can't buy them legally. Only the military is allowed to have those. It's becoming all too common an occurrence. Okay, nobody sticks automatic weapons out. There are no automatic weapons in the state of Hawaii legally. Anyway, the case may be handed to the prosecutor's office. Lawson says it could be a case that centers around a man's claims he is a federal agent sent to take out terrorists. It's really fact sensitive. I think you could argue that, especially in this climate of fear. But I still think it's legally not enough. Let's see. Here's where it says what he has. The FBI and Honolulu police are investigating after finding a large cache of loaded weapons during a raid in the Waikiki hotel room that sources say was prompted by disturbing posts on social media. The arsenal included a high-powered rifle, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and an assortment of other weapons, by which he means knives. But the man staying in the room wasn't arrested. I mean, they give him a psychiatric evaluation in the hospital. The FBI notified Honolulu police Thursday about a guest in room 803 at the Equus Hotel saying he was claiming to be a federal agent and disturbing posts on social media. The 38-year-old claimed his mission was to hunt terrorist cells. When the police arrived at the Equus on Ala Moana Boulevard, okay, that's right in the center of Waikiki, sources say they found an arsenal. An AR-15 and 15 high-capacity magazines all loaded, a shotgun and 2 handguns, a total of more than 800 rounds of ammunition plus 18 military-style knives and body armor. The weapons were legally registered to the man, and having them in his room was also legal. There was no danger, said Mike Daly, manager at the hotel. The gentleman was here. He was a guest staying here. He left, and then there was an FBI and police investigation. So he stepped out of the hotel, and then the police and the FBI came in and investigated. Sources say the police did find psychiatric medication in the room, allowing them to seize the cash until a mental health evaluation could be completed. He was taken to the hospital for that. He had a room here, and they were looking at the stuff in his room. I don't know that there are any weapons. I think you have to talk to the police about that. The man has been living in Hawaii for about 3 years in a Makiki apartment. He had only been staying at the hotel a few days. If he is deemed mentally fit, he could get his weapons back. You know, I just don't see that he did anything wrong. Anyway, it's just if they do these red flag gun laws, then it just based on a social media post. I mean, if I can show you on West Hawaii Today that if I type "God bless President Trump" on in the comment section underneath an article, it'll trigger some clown on on there. We'll start making all kinds of threats about about killing all the heterosexual white men in America or something. and so that's who would be like calling up the police and demanding a red flag, raid. And I could probably find it in like today's post if I look for it. Today's paper.
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's say you've got a friend on another island. You can call them, you can email them, text them, stuff like that. But to get over there would take a matter of hours. And they sent you a text and said, I'm finally going to do it today. I'm going to end my life. And you try to get a hold of them, and they don't respond. You're not going to call the authorities over there and say, hey, look, I got a text, and he's not answering his phone. Can you go do a welfare check? You wouldn't do that?
Well, that's not what happened.
I understand, but it's the same difference. If he made some sort of post and he sounded like he was crazy, I'm not saying I agree with red flag laws. I don't. But if they can actually show, look, here, I'm going to log in. Excuse me. I'm going to log into my account. Here you can see this is a private message between me and him. Nobody else can see it. Look what he typed. Do you think this, and they could look the guy up and say, yeah, he's not in the CIA, and even if he was, that's illegal. But then I would say, don't necessarily come in there, confiscate his guns. Do a wellness check, do an interview, and see if this guy. He's like, no, man, I was joking around. And he sounds normal, right? He sounds like he was just screwing around, and his buddy's no buddy at all, right? But if he starts going, yeah, have you seen Al Qaeda? I'm gonna, stab him with my 11 knives. At that point, the health and wellness check has shown that this guy's nuts. So I'm not saying that's what they did, but I don't know why they can't just do that sort of thing. Have an actual health and wellness check where you verify that
they're not interested in health and welfare checks. They're interested in gun confiscation. That's what these laws are about. They don't give a fuck about health and welfare. They give a fuck about grabbing the guns. That's what it's about. And I could just show you today's post where basically, and I'll read you this guy's screen name is Donald Trump Domestic Terrorist. He says, I'm here to grab people by the head and cram a boot down their worthless throats. I'm not here to catch flies with honey. I'm here to exterminate vermin. So that's the kind of people you're dealing with on the internet who post on the local papers in Hawaii that are just filled with hate for Trump. So
that post that you read looks more like, to me, as somebody who's had history in law enforcement and EMS, that is more of a psychotic statement than being an FBI agent and taking out terrorists. I mean, it's if he would have worded it and said, instead of putting a boot down their throats and said, putting a bullet in their ear, then that would have been, he would have been the one to get his house busted into and all of his guns taken away because he changed the wording from a boot down their throat to a bullet in their ear. It's all about guns and what they want to do to pretty much enhance the false threat of somebody with firearms making some smart aleck comment that really had no truth behind it, that nobody's really going to do that they just want to sit there. It's the media taking everything that somebody says that may have seen a gun in their life and saying, oh, well, those people should be
I don't think people should be shot dead by police breaking into the house just because somebody didn't like something they typed on a keyboard. And my response to that guy was just, okay, you and what army is going to do this?
Right. Right. No, I mean, you're right. But hell, I don't think police should be shot going into try to serve a warrant on a drug house, but
Neither do I.
it's right. But it's like what they're doing is they're trying to pull anything they can off of a gun owner and blasting him on the media to make him look like it's worse than it really is. Yeah, things, I wasn't there. I don't know, what the guy was thinking, when he had all them guns and ammunition and everything in his hotel room. I didn't talk to him. I can't speak and say that, he was out there to do some crime and, another Vegas shooting. But I can also say that, what if he was just being a smart aleck? What if he was just writing a smart aleck comment to this person on the internet, and somebody just a really, really, really far out Democrat decided, you know what? I think that would make a viable threat, and that would make a good excuse to have a gun owner ripped away, of all of his guns and gun rights and thrown in jail for nothing. So I'm going to try that. I think it's just they're trying to pull anything they can out of the air and just making it way worse than it is.
Well, and the laws that they're passing won't make anyone safer. And
here's the way I see it. When Australia had their guns, they had everybody turn their guns in. Who did it? Who's the one that went in there with all their guns and said, "Here's my guns"? The law-abiding citizens. Gun crimes went through the roof after that, and then they started to dwindle off. But what they didn't report in those statistics is what crimes are still through the roof. Burglaries, breaking and enterings, any kind of thefts like that.
In the UK, it's knife crime has skyrocketed.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Knife crimes, baseball bats. You don't see a lot of people getting shot up in Australia. That's true. But you do see, if you just Google Melbourne news. Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe they should start banning hailstorms. But no,
turn in your hail.
Right. But you see, occasionally you'll see just about as much as there are, you see on the news here in the States of some kind of gun crime. That's about as often as you'll see somebody getting beat to death with a baseball bat in Australia. Gun crimes are almost nothing now in Australia, but other crimes are still the same. So what's the difference? Just because, and this is what I don't understand. You're going to ban guns, and the only person that's going to turn in their guns is law-abiding citizens. However, once you ban guns and once you take guns away, you're opening the door to a lot more crime. Now these people are going to know, oh, well, there's no guns in this country, so guess what?
Happy time. Let's go break and enter and let's just rob anybody we want, because it's not like anybody.
Honduras bans guns to the civilians. We know how bad that is. We know how bad crime is there. I mean,
the gangs are in charge.
Exactly. What is it? Iceland requires at least 2 guns per household.
I thought that was
Switzerland. And there is Switzerland. And the crime rate is almost 0. I mean, like, how is that? How are you going to sit there and say guns are the problem when actually guns are not the problem? It's the people. I mean, it just doesn't make sense why they're going to sit there. It's like for the.
I told Squib like the other day, the last violent act I committed was in high school. I punched a bully in the nose. here I am, 54. I own a lot of guns, but I mean, I have never committed a violent act.
Right.
I shoot targets, paper targets, steel targets. I practice with my fighting sticks. I like having knives, but you know how many crimes I've committed? Nothing. Guns don't. What's people's? I mean, I don't get it.
Guns. People with guns kill people. Not all people with guns kill people, but some people with guns kill people. It doesn't matter if it's law enforcement or if it's a criminal act or whatever it is. You know what else kills people? People with knives, people with shanks, people with baseball bats, people with, you name it, a hammer.
You know what else kills people? Cholesterol kills more people.
Cancer kills people. You don't see them going around banning cigarettes because everybody has got cancer. You don't see them, banning this and banning that because it's unhealthy for you. I don't even understand what the deal is with these people that are so afraid of guns.
I think it's just politics. I think it's just politics.
I probably wouldn't say it's politics. I would say it's a lack of education. And I would probably say more than that would probably, and still above politics, would be the media. They're making these people out to be worse than they are. And we were talking about the whole Mandalay Bay shooter thing earlier, and the night that was happening, I was listening to the scanner feed on an app that I use. Once I got the alert, I switched it on and was listening to it. About 5 minutes later, then that's when all the news channels started breaking in with their, late breaking news with these news updates and everything. And even at the end, to this day, the final statements, the final story of everything that happened was completely different from what I listened to on the radio. So I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know where things got mixed up, why the final statement was completely different from what I was listening to on the radio. But what I heard on the radio was nowhere near what we are set to believe as facts. And I'm not sitting here saying that it was a conspiracy and, it was all an inside job or it was a 9/11 all over again. But, I heard this for myself, and what they were putting on the news was nowhere near what I heard on the radio. And that's one thing that really, and we've seen all those videos of, it was somebody with this guy with a bump stock on an AR, and they have these bump stock videos, and they're comparing the amount of rapid fire to those of fully automatic, military style weapons.
The cyclic rate.
Yeah. And it's not near the same. Well, from these conspiracies that I'm hearing about it, and from what I've heard on the radio, what I heard on the scanner radio that night makes everything a lot more. It makes everything make a lot more sense.
Well, I mean, there's a certain thing called the fog of war. I mean, you aren't going to know what's happening in the first initial moments.
Right. That's true. But when you're getting police officers calling into dispatch saying, I've got multiple shooters in this casino, in this casino, in this casino, and they're, I think I wrote down every one of those casinos that were mentioned in there. And at the end of the day, when the media finally said this is the full story, there was only one person in the window of the Mandalay Bay Hotel that was shooting down at everybody. That was nowhere near
And
what
and then
was
and then what I didn't understand is when Squib came on and we were talking about it, and he started talking about glass, and I was like, glass? Who gives a shit about glass? What does glass have to do with anything? And I don't remember the point that he was trying to make about
Oklahoma Prepper, have you ever heard of the Battle of Los Angeles?
yeah.
Okay, what you heard was the Battle of Los Angeles.
That makes sense. You know, it sounds to me like the Battle of Tonkin, or the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Yeah, the Gulf of Tonkin incident is it was yeah, there's some truth to that, and then there's some, hey, let's spin the truth and use it to our advantage.
Right.
But yeah, what I think was these guys were totally unprepared for an incident like this in Las Vegas. They probably never thought anything like that would ever happen there, and they freaked out and they panicked. They probably also had people calling in all over the place. Plus, out there, you're going to get reverberation. Between those big buildings, you're going to get reverberation. The recordings that we heard off of people's cell phones, granted they're not the best, you could hear the echoes. It's bouncing around. The buildings over there are tall, and some of them have got multiple towers, and it's really hard to say how much that affected it, but it could have made people think that there were multiple shooters, and for the longest time people were going, there was somebody on the fourth floor. Okay, well then where's the broken fourth floor window? Well, there isn't one. Well, then there wasn't somebody on the fourth floor. What I've seen are a whole lot of pictures after the fact where you've got cops an hour later standing outside the hotel with the most tactical crap, standing outside. It's like, dude, first off, it's over. It's long over. Secondly, what are you doing outside? You're not going to do anything out there. But they're still thinking something might go on. I mean, think about 9/11. People thought the attacks were going to keep happening all day long, right?
Okay, I understand what you're talking about. I understand 100%. You know, and all that makes sense. All that makes sense. But what about when you're hearing on the radio, I've got two shooters wearing, and I quote, NCUs in this area. I don't remember where it was. I think it was the Flamingo.
What's an NCU? And who's walking on snow?
That's Squib. Okay, that's a good question, and that brings me to my second point. You don't know what an NCU is.
I know what a BDU is.
Okay, right. Now, any normal civilian will be like, I got somebody wearing either military fatigues or BDUs, thinking that all military fatigues are BDUs. That is not correct. NCU is Naval Combat Uniform.
Okay.
Whereas BDU is Battle Dress Uniform, ACU is Army Combat Uniform. So every military branch has a different acronym for their military uniforms. So when this guy specifically pointed out, these guys are wearing NCUs specifically, and that is a quote.
So that means Las Vegas wasn't being invaded by the Navy.
It makes you wonder why there were several people wearing NCUs walking around in these active shooter areas shooting.
Well, wait, the NCUs people weren't the shooters. They were just people walking around in NCUs, is what you're saying.
That's a possibility.
Well, there's only one shooter, and everybody else was just people walking around in fatigues. Okay.
But I mean, why would of all people, why would the Navy be in Vegas with this type of thing going on that the law enforcement knew nothing about? Hey, the Navy's here with guns; they're helping us out. Well, why are you calling on the radio? I've got two shooters wearing NCUs. You know what I'm saying? It's like some of this stuff, and I know you're laughing, and it sounds funny, and it's funny as hell when you're hearing it from somebody else. And I would probably be laughing the same way as you are. But when I was listening to it on the scanner radio, on this app, these people are sitting there calling off all these things that are happening. And it's just like, why is the next day when the media says it was one guy in a window of a hotel room and he shot himself? So what about everything that I heard last night on the radio? Where's all the other shooters? What about the guys that were in the Flamingo?
It's all fog
What
of
about the
war.
ones that were in the
It's
Palm?
all fog of war. It sounds like just fog of war.
Right.
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, the whole thing is like we're being invaded by there was this movie about when the Russians invaded Maryland or something, and they're like a submarine breaks down, and there's a whole movie about it. A submarine breaks down on the East Coast somewhere, and the Russians land because their submarine is broken down, and they have to get off and get some supplies or fuel or something so they can get the hell out of there. And it was like the Russians are coming. It was a comedy. It was a movie, but it was like It's like if the Russians. It's like somebody said there's somebody wearing Russian special forces gear in Vegas. I mean, of course I'm gonna laugh. I got the Red Dawn DVD Blu-ray, and none of the special features seem to work on my Blu-ray player for some reason. Anyway, but I don't think that if somebody, if I went on the police scanner and somebody said that there's some people with Russian BDUs, battle dress uniforms, what would you call them? RDUs or something?
I don't know.
Russian special forces.
RBUs, Russian battle uniform.
Yeah, I mean, I could get those off of Sportsman's Guide, but
right.
I mean, it's like somebody says there's on the police scanner that there's people with there's shooters with Russian battle dress uniforms. I think what?
Right. I mean, but I mean, you can get that stuff at any military
Online.
surplus store. Yeah, online, you can get it anywhere. But it's one thing to have an organized group of people saying, hey, let's go shoot up this place, but it's another thing for you to be hearing all this stuff on the radio, and then the next day the news say it was one person in one hotel room and he shot himself after it was all over.
So which person do you not believe the radio, or do you not believe the news?
I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't. Which if I had to answer, if I had to give you a one or the other answer, straight up, obviously the news. I mean, who's going to believe the news anyway these days? But you
could give me none of the third choice is none of the above.
I wouldn't. Then see none of the above, because I'm hearing one thing and on one end, and the news is telling me something totally different. Yet we knew that the news lies to us anyway. So, I don't know what to believe, this or that. Now, when they said that, one of y'all said, I can't remember who it was, said something about they could never have anticipated anything like this in Vegas. Well, that's what George Bush said after 9/11 happened. We could have never imagined them using this. Look at the declassified documents from
using airliners as missiles.
Yeah, the declassified documents back in the Kennedy administration, when and specifically it was called the Northwoods Project.
Well,
Operation Northwoods.
The book that I was showing you earlier was also declassified. I think it was called MK Ultra originally.
MK Ultra was the mind control thing.
Yeah, but it's CIA Manual of Trickery and Deception. Well, it was also this piece classified piece that John Mulholland wrote about deception and using magic in deception, and so it was. Boy, it's getting dark in here trying to read this. On the forward, let me see if I can find what it says specifically referring to. that. I got my red angle light here, so reading in the dark.
Got to practice somehow.
Yeah, this is like, here I am reading this declassified spy book in the dark. It is unlikely that either John Mulholland with a red angular flashlight. Okay,
Right.
it is unlikely that either John Mulholland or Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the CIA officer who authorized the creation of, quote, some operational applications of the art of deception and recognition signals, ever anticipated the manuals would become available to anyone without security clearances. Both men understood that their respective professions as magicians or CIA officers required oaths of secrecy. So the magician's oath states, "As magician, I promise never to reveal the secret of any illusion to a non-magician unless that one swears to uphold the magician's oath in turn. I promise never to perform an illusion for any non-magician without first practicing the effect until I can perform it well enough to maintain the illusion of magic." Let's see. I'm trying to find the part about MK Ultra.
What do you want to know about MK Ultra?
I'm just trying to find the history part of it that I read here, and I'm reading it in the dark with this red.
Okay,
light. And it's weird.
Well, basically, it was a classified project that of course, the CIA was conducting.
Here it is. Yeah, here it is.
In the 60s and 70s.
In the 50s.
50s.
In March 1953, Alan Dulles, director of CIA, entrusted 34-year-old Gottlieb with one of America's most secret, sensitive Cold War programs, codenamed MK Ultra. Dulles authorized TSS, Technical Services, and Dr. Gottlieb chemical staff to begin work on multiple projects for research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in the clandestine operations to control human behavior. And MK Ultra eventually encompassed 149 sub-projects and remained one of the CIA's most carefully guarded secrets for over 20 years. Its projects aimed to understand how drugs and alcohol altered human behavior and to protect American assets from Soviet psychological or psychopharmaceutical manipulation. The research included clandestine acquisition of drugs, clinical. This is just too weird reading it. I'm gonna have to try and turn on the camera. It's just too weird reading this with this red light.
To simplify, that's basically where they came out with that's where they came up with LSD, the hallucinogen to cause people to pretty much hallucinate and make them believe what you wanted them to believe.
Several projects involved research of little understood mind-altering drugs such as LSD and marijuana.
Right.
CIA was researching marijuana. In the end, research produced an assortment of potential offensive capabilities involving incapacitating, lethal, and untraceable toxins. However, the absence of scientific data in the early 1950s about the effective and safe dosage levels of the new drugs, including LSD, reading this in the dark of this light, MK Ultra research, as a result, Gottlieb presented a problem for the MK Ultra researchers. As a result, Gottlieb and members of his team performed experiments on themselves, including ingesting drugs. They got paid to do this by the government. Observing and recording their own reactions. In late 1953, an early LSD experiment involving several government scientists went horribly bad. Frank Olson was working on the U.S. Army Special Operations Division, SOD, biological weapons facility at Fort Detrick, Maryland, assisting CIA MK Ultra projects. Along with half a dozen other scientists, he volunteered to attend a retreat. I mean, I just got to show you how it's like I'm reading this book like this.
You got to practice. It's going to happen one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is like I'm Mission Impossible, you know, the TV show, not the movie.
I didn't know it was a show.
Yeah, Mission Impossible was a TV show before it was a.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Movie. You didn't know that?
No.
You young whippersnappers can't remember.
And I bet the movie was nowhere near as good as the show was.
Most reported little effect, but Olson had a bad trip that night. As his condition worsened in the following days, Gottlieb's deputy, Robert Lassenbrook, escorted him to the New York City for psychiatric counseling. This attention and treatment seemed to calm Olson temporarily, but later that evening on November 24th, 1953, he jumped to his death from the 10th floor window in his New York hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
CIA executives seemed to protect the secrecy of MK Ultra program, did not fully reveal the circumstances of Olson's death to his family. I guess they didn't want to tell him they gave him that he was taking LSD for the government and he jumped out a window.
He had a bad trip, man.
We regret to inform you that your husband died in the line of duty from a bad trip. No on LSD. No other fatalities in the MK Ultra experiments occurred, but 2 decades passed before Olson's widow received a delayed apology from President Gerald Ford and a financial settlement from the U.S. government. All right. Well, that's all the red light I can read for tonight.
Is there anything about the?
You want to get this book? There it is.
Is there anything about the Montauk Project in there?
I haven't finished reading the book yet.
I doubt it because that's something kind of on a totally different thing. That was Montauk Project was they were trying to come up with a what do they call it? A temporal displacement, a way of pretty much cloaking the battleships and stuff like that. What is it called? Teleportation. They were trying to mess with teleportation.
Is that the thing that they tried to do with tubes in the Philadelphia experiment with vacuum tubes? This is just about the CIA trickery and deception mostly, and they have the stuff in there about MK Ultra and
that might have been the Philadelphia experiment that I'm thinking of, not the Montauk Project.
I never know if I actually believed all that stuff because I don't know because what they claim the vacuum tubes or what they tried to do with vacuum tubes don't do what they think they could do. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what vacuum tubes do, and they couldn't do any time displacement.
Yeah.
That's not what vacuum tubes are. Cathode and a diode. No, that's not what vacuum tubes do. And you're talking to somebody whose tech actually found plutonium vacuum tubes.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of plutonium,
okay.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is something that is kind of relevant to the prepping thing. I found a website. I'll look it up real quick, but I found a website. And it turns out my local water source is radioactive.
Really? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. And of course, it's from the city. The city says that our water is drinkable. But there's...
Well, your city doesn't have Well, you could go on to Sportsman's Guide and buy a radioactive one of those detectors.
Yeah, one
Civilian
of Geiger.
defense, Geiger counters. Yeah,
Yeah,
from
Geiger counter. That's
those
what it
yellow
was. Yeah.
civilian defense programs, civil defense programs.
Let me see. Uh, www.ewg or Edward Whiskey Golf, Echo Whiskey Golf.org /tapwater/system. Basically, let me open this link real quick. And it says contaminate. Oh, I don't need this ad. Contaminants detected above health guidelines are, and of course you can't read half of these words.
Maybe you need a red light.
Yeah, I know. Bromodichloromethane.
Bromodichloromethane. Okay.
Bromoform, chloroform, dibromochloromethane, dichloroacetic acid, radiological
okay.
Radiological contaminants. I'll open that one here in a minute. Total trihalomethanes and trichloroacetic acid. And the radiological contaminants, radium combined 226 and 228, uranium, and it says radiological contaminants leach into water from certain minerals and from mining. Drinking water with contamination with radioactive.
Well, it sounds like if you're short on money, you could just distill the water and take all the contaminants out of the bottom of your boiling pot and sell them as minerals to some company. I mean, you could collect uranium out of your water.
Yeah, and sell it to the West, the Democrats.
Well, just give it to the Clinton Foundation. They'll know what to do with it.
Right. No, it's but yeah, that's something to EWG Echo Whiskey Golf.org, and look on there, and it shows nationwide. You know what the water, and it's a lot. It's a lot worse than you'd ever imagine. I mean, just about all of our water is contaminated with this stuff, and it makes you wonder, what is going on down there.
Well, I don't think we have that problem on the Big Island, but because there's no radiological experiments or power plants or testing that's been done on the Big Island that I know of. I mean, the closest we have is to any radioactivity is up at Puhakaloa shooting depleted uranium of bullets at the military range. That's about its only closest problem they've ever had to anything associated with uranium. And that's not where we get our groundwater from up there. So the aquifers are way underground, and I mean they're underground, but up on the mountains over Hilo and Kona. But basically the rainwater comes from the ocean, and it's by the trade winds bring it up the mountain, and it's dumped down onto at 3,000, 4,000 feet. It's like squeezed out of the air as the moisture gets pushed up in altitude and the temperature changes.
Right.
And then it goes into the groundwater. It's filtered through the lava rock. It flows back downhill or underground into aquifers, and it's pumped up into storage containers, and usually mostly gravity brings it down from the whatever they pump up with the well pumps pump up into the storage containers up from the mountains. Gravity just brings it down to sea level where a lot of the people live. So I filter my water like 2 or 3 times. I mean, through the reverse osmosis and then through the on the water distillation. Plus, Hawaii's in the middle of nowhere, so we're 3,000 miles from the mainland. If the mainland has problems, I could buy that things have happened there over time. But on the Big Island, I just would find that hard. I don't see how radiation would get out here. I mean, just aside from being in the atmosphere in trace amounts.
Or from the Fukushima plant, the leak from there.
Well,
would eventually drift.
Yeah, the debris washed up from Fukushima washed up on South Point, some of it, but that's not into the groundwater. I mean, you don't go and pick up floating sea debris.
Right.
It's not going to get into the groundwater. So it's just, there was a lot of prepping reasons that I picked the Big Island. It's like one of which was it's really not a military target. It's remote as far as contamination problems and pollution problems that exist on the Big Island. If the Yellowstone supervolcano ever blows up, it'll be a big main problem on the mainland, all that pyroclastic expulsion. But it won't be as big of it'll be a problem if all the hydrogen disulfide aerosolizes in the stratosphere. That'll be a global problem. But I won't be buried in a pyroclastic flow right out of the volcano that covers the entire western, all of North America, for intents and purposes, at least to some extent. And it'll be a problem that there won't be any food being grown. That'll be a global disaster if farms up in all over America stop producing food or at least being able to transport what they can. I picked Hawaii for a lot of reasons, and plus we've got a pretty strong military base in between Guam and Pearl Harbor and the military forces out here. And that aren't on, but they aren't on my island, so this island won't be targeted. They come out here like for training up at the range once in a while, but that's it. They aren't stationed here. So why would anybody target this island for anything? There's nothing here. The most strategic thing they could target would be Costco or Kona Guns, the gun shop. And the gun shop's only open 3 days a week anyway.
Oh man.
So there's nothing here to make it anything more than a tourist destination. There's no military or economic or asset of any kind. So it's I'm kind of bugged out. I'm living in the middle of town, okay, but I'm not in the jungle. But I'm 3,000 miles from anywhere important. I'm already bugged out. I'm already bugged out so far from any place that's important that there's no. It kind of just cuts out so many pollution problems. We have our own set of problems here, but it cuts out so many prepper problems. I picked this place for a reason, and it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it cuts out a lot of problems, so that people on the mainland will have to deal with. That people on an island. This is the most remote landmass on the planet. That's not. It's not a continent. You could say New Zealand is remote, but that's kind of a different. That's kind of.
They're still pretty close to Australia, but they're not 3,000 miles away from Australia either. They're right there. but you're very remote compared to some of the other like outlying islands around the Gulf of Mexico, uh, like Cuba and the other U.S. territories out there. Can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're a lot closer than you are to the mainland. So you're pretty out there, off into the ocean.
That was the first impression I got when I first came out here on a back roads bicycle trip. I was bicycling around the Big Island, and I was like, "Wow, this really is the boonies." I like it. Nobody was yelling at me in different languages about dubbing, or nobody filmed. It was. I really felt like I was out in the boonies, and I think at that point in my life, I just wanted to be an unimportant nobody living in the boonies, and I truly, because I was hired with the responsibilities, the everybody wanted something. Everybody was trying to fuck with me. Everybody wanted a check. Everybody wanted to get paid. Everybody was counting on me to. So I didn't want that anymore, and so I wasn't just. It was a certain amount of escapism, I suppose. Everybody wants to move to tropical paradise, but it's not a paradise. It just looks like it is. I mean, it's filled with a lot of crappy lawyers and real estate people, but it was. Compared to where I was living, it was just a lot different. But just from a prepping perspective, we do grow enough food to sustain the people that live on this island. They can't say that on Oahu, but for this island, it would just be a question of distributing it, having enough fuel to distribute everything to the people, and keeping things refrigerated and stable. That would be a problem. So I mean, it's like they've got great farmers markets here, and the illusion is when you have Costco and Safeway up and stuff like that, is that you're living just like anywhere in the United States of America, because of the just-in-time delivery system. Which, if the shit hits the fan, that won't work and that won't be there. Which is why I have all that freaking mountain house. Number 10 cans set back, because I know it's an illusion that I went today and I picked up like red leaf lettuce and some local I picked up some poke tuna, and I picked up a steak to barbecue tomorrow with that slapia mama. I put some of that slapia mama spices on it.
You guys, yeah, man, you got to try it.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with that and put it on. I think I may have some of those Idahoan mashed potatoes that I'll put some on that too.
Yeah.
And that and on the steak. So I'll let you know what I think about it. I know Squib said he had it on chicken, and his wife made it. They liked it. He said his wife probably put too much on, buried it in it. But
yeah. I didn't forget about your request on the channel for Dutch oven meals and stuff.
Right.
I just barely. I had some kind of respiratory virus going on, and I'm kind of barely getting over it. Yeah, and then on top of that, the weather hasn't been really.
My father was just getting through some of those issues. When he was on the cruise ship, him and my mother had some kind of virus. But when they got back, my mom got over it, and he was still having bronchial spasms. So he had to go to the ER about a week ago, and they checked him out, and his heart was fine, and he was just having bronchial spasms, and he was coughing all night, and he couldn't sleep. So, but he's gotten better. They gave him some prednisone and some of this other stuff that I used to take when I was recovering from surgery. It's like an inhalant thing that you have to take an inhale of it. Then you have to rinse your mouth out with water to get it all out of your mouth. And so they put him on the same stuff that I was on for a couple weeks after surgery. And but he seems to be doing better. He's going to see a pulmonologist on the 31st, and they'll just check it. It wasn't. It's like the virus, because my mom had the same virus and she didn't have that problem. So it's like some underlying bronchial spasm conditions and some advanced bronchitis or something. And
something ISIS is trying to test on us.
I don't know, but he's it was like whenever you go to the ER, with breathing problems, it's like raises like red flag, and I got worried.
Right.
And but it wasn't anything that they did every test on him at the ER trying to figure out what it was, and they just said, no, you're fine. It's just they gave him what they gave him, and he couldn't sleep for a couple nights, and then after that he started being able to sleep again. And he'll see pulmonologists on the 31st, and they'll do whatever bronchitis tests they're going to give him, and go from there, I guess. But yeah, it was a little scary. I don't like to hear that my dad had to go to the ER, because usually that means something bad is happening. And but it seems to be he's recovering from whatever it is, and hopefully they'll figure it out. Who knows? I told him, just don't go on cruise ships anymore. and they were saying, well, airplanes aren't that much better either than this. But it was, after the virus was gone, the bronchitis still seemed to have, he had some kind of spasms and was having problems sleeping because he would just cough and not go to sleep.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember, was it a week or two ago, a cruise ship had to turn around and come back from, I want to say it was Jamaica, because a stomach virus outbreak had happened. And I think they had 2 or 3 days left on their cruise, and they said, nope, everybody stay on board, we're turning around. And they ended up giving everybody a refund on their cruise. But yeah, that happened, I want to say 1 or 2 weeks ago. I noticed. I think I saw it on somewhere online. I don't remember, but yeah, I just now realized, I just now remember that your dad had an issue a few weeks ago on something like that, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until just now.
Yeah, when they visited, I gave them some airborne, and they said that helped them get through the cruise. But they still had the virus for a while when they got back, and then she got over it, but he was still coughing. And so anyway, he seems to be doing a lot better. I talked to him today. I didn't even want to talk to him for the first few days after he was in the ER, because every time he tried to talk, he would just start coughing again. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to call him. I'll just text my mom to see what's going on. Yeah. So Vanessa, those were plutonium vacuum tubes that I was talking about earlier. So what happened was, there was an older piece of audio equipment, like Western Electric era, and my tech had the tube wasn't working, and that the audio was going through, and so he I don't know if it was the audio or the power for the system, but anyway, he looked up he was looked up to find a equivalent replacement vacuum tube that he could buy for it that would do the same thing as the old tube that had burned out or something. And so he looked up the number that was the part number of the vacuum tube that was on it, and it had a radiation disposal hazard warning on it, is what it was. And that's how you find out if you've got you got plutonium vacuum tubes, which they used to make. I think all the vacuum tubes now are made in Russia. They're the only place on the planet that still makes vacuum tubes. I think we were talking last week maybe 2 weeks ago when we did the show on the Air Museum, that like the MiG-17s and the MiG-50, those fighters use vacuum tubes and not solid state electronics. so they were more survivable in an EMP, because solid state electronics can get taken out by an EMP where vacuum tubes don't. Anyway, let's see. Got anything else going on? Sorry if I fall behind on the comments sometimes.
My laptop's acting up, so I haven't even been able to get on it. Or else I would have been in there with the comments as well, talking all kinds of smack.
Well, it's mostly Vanessa. I think I'll play that Australia. I'll finish off playing the show off by playing some of that Australian hail that somebody posted on Facebook. The size of tennis balls. Let's see if it'll play. If I can find the right button to push.
Well, that being said, I'm going to get off here. It's a lot later than I thought it was, and my cell phone is dying.
Oh, okay.
And
thanks.
I don't have my charger with me.
Thanks for coming on. Are you gonna get around to making those videos soonish as far as the Dutch ovens?
We are in a cold front right now. A cold front came in today, so our low tonight is supposed to be like 20. And but let's see, weather should be permitting for next. In a few days. Probably around the weekend, we're supposed to be getting 70-degree weather. And if depending on how the fire danger is around those days, this weekend it's going to be back up in the 60s and 70s all the way up to Tuesday. But depending on how the fire danger is around those times, I will get started on those videos, because I had a friend of mine who decided he wanted to buy a Dutch oven and bake a cake in his fireplace. And because I didn't give him the proper instructions after I told him only about 5 or 10 minutes, he decided to leave it in there for about 30 minutes, and he come out with a big old
ash cake.
Yeah.
Ash.
It was
charcoal.
It was charred. It was charred.
Charcoal for dinner. Okay.
Yeah.
I got a book like on 101 things to do with the Dutch oven, and basically they say keep using it, otherwise you'll have to re-season it and stuff. So
yeah.
I still haven't used mine for anything, but I put it in my preps thing. So I'm waiting for your videos to give me inspiration. I think.
I'll put up a couple of videos, a few dessert videos, and then I'll put up some for example, like a roast and some stews and stuff like that. So that,
cool.
Because man, I'm actually eating stew right now. I'm eating beef stew, right out of the can. But
out of the can, okay. I
put it on the wood stove and open the can. I put it on the wood stove, let it warm up that way, and I'm eating it. So like that. So
all right,
one of the pleasures of having a wood stove. Yeah.
Bon appetit.
You guys have a safe night. Enjoy the week, and hopefully things will start to get better for everybody.
Yeah. All right. God bless. Take it easy, Oklahoma. Peace out.
Thanks a lot. Guys, stay safe and keep prepping. Have a good night, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just going to play this hail video from Australia. I played it in the pre-chat. Let me get this thing rolling here, see if it works. Can you guys see all this? I don't know.
That's a hailstorm.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. Keep watching. It gets worse. It takes out some cars. Here it is from inside of a car. He pulled over.
Well, yeah, but it's a foreign car, so.
Is it? Well,
it's in Australia.
Yeah, it looks like they get a whole parking lot in a while. So these are like the size of tennis balls. So it's not this bad in Michigan, but it is in Australia. Watch what happens to this car's back window. Just completely took it out. There's some poor sheep and some poor cars. Somebody's roof got plastered, and they'll show you a parking lot in a minute. Look at that. Just totally trashed the whole parking lot. Looks like an auto dealership of some kind. Anyway. So that's the problems they have in Australia. So thanks to everybody for tuning in to this week's Lock and Load. I really appreciate you guys showing up every week. It's great to be able to talk about just prepping stuff and Second Amendment, gun control laws that they try and pass, and just having some friends to talk to is fun. Hey, let me check the external chat, and then I'll close this one out. If I can find my way to the right buttons. Ice balls from 20,000 feet. Yo, you've been in those in Texas? Yeah, Jared, I did send you a link, I believe. So I guess you've just been busy with your homework and stuff for school. Okay, aloha from the Big Island. All right, cancel this one out, close this one out. I'm sure I have some kind of sound effect on my cell phone, but you know what? Forget it. I'll just another good show for a human. See you guys next week. God bless America.